All right, and welcome back to another episode of The Amazing City. I believe this is episode 44, the Jason Bay episode. I believe that's what it was.
Oh, we can call it so many other things.
Last Things Millage episode. No,
Maybe
uh,
not.
yeah, maybe not. That's
44.
44 is a bad number in Metsland, huh?
There's got to be
Damn,
someone else.
it's got to be, but who knows? Those are the only two that I'm thinking off the top of my head. Either way, dude,
Yeah, this is 44. That's bad.
how do we?
Where do you want to start,
Where do we
man?
start? Where do we start? We're
I
recording
am.
on Thursday. It is officially September 1st. We're in the final month, the final full month of the
This is
regular season.
this is an emergency podcast.
It kind of is. And where do we go from here? I'm
Um,
still not over the Brendan Nimmo catch. It was a home run in 20 ballparks, and that man brought it in. One of the couple years ago, he was one of the worst outfielders in baseball, and that was one of the best, and made potentially the play of the year in the biggest spot so far. I mean,
it's just unreal. I mean,
yeah.
the first thing I thought of was the Andrew Jones or the Adam Jones catch in the World Baseball Classic
Yeah,
because
you know what? It's a good call.
because they seemed like pretty similar catches in the sense that you're not taking the time to size up the wall. You're on a
Yeah.
dead sprint to get there. The crowd reaction, similar parts of the ballpark, it was just nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was insane. Calling it very similar to the Adam Jones catches. That's good. A lot of people are calling it the best catch in Mets history since Andy Chavez, and wasn't a playoff game. If can you imagine if that happened in a playoff game?
I mean, last night, the series has felt like one.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, you want to talk about the emotions, whether like going either way. Like the Grom comes out and shoves the Nimmo catch, Marte's homer, Diaz coming in recording the save with after Timmy Trumpet coming out. I
playing
mean, but
live.
then
Awesome
the
stuff.
flip side the night before is the emotion of agony. Load the bases in the first, don't really do too much.
Right.
You let Jake Reed come in and record his first career save off you.
Yep.
Let alone that you're the team that cut him, sent him packing back to the Dodgers.
Yep.
I mean, I think a lot of people forgotten just the ups and the downs and the lefts and rights of pennant chase baseball.
It's
I
fun.
mean, it's beautiful, but like looking at the Mark Canna game in Philly, you're like, oh my god, this is the peak.
Yeah.
Then last night very literally felt like what might be the peak of the Mets regular season.
But how many times we've said that? First, it was the Philly game where you come back from in the ninth inning down 7-1.
Well,
Then it was the
no one
no
thought no
hitter.
one.
Then it was the
If you're
Mark Canna
regular
game.
if
A
you're
lot against
regular
Philly.
season, well, yeah, that's what we like to see.
Yeah.
Those are the scenes that are not tough. Those are the beautiful scenes.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are beautiful scenes.
yeah. Absolutely.
But no, I mean, yeah, those are awesome moments. But you have that 7-run comeback. That was in what, late April, early May.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, you're at a point now where it's September 1st, and you just go wire to wire. You go DeGrom, Ottavino, Diaz, dominating performance against the team that if you're making it to the World Series, you have to go through them.
Yeah.
No matter what. Because I don't think any of those wild card teams are taking the Dodgers out.
No, it's hard to see that as a possibility. We're talking about a team that's 2 wins off the pace of the 0-1 Mariners team that set the record with 116 wins, and no one's talking about that. It's September. They already have 90 wins. So, like, if you win today, you're setting a real statement, not only to the Dodgers, but to the rest of baseball. And again, I feel like we said that a bunch of times, beating Philly, you take 4 to 5 from Atlanta, you beat this team, you beat that team, you do this, you do that. You're setting statements, and I get it. And at this point, the Mets are who they are. They're a damn good team. They're a top 3 or 4 team in all of baseball. But
no, I mean, I'd say there's 3 clear-cut top teams in baseball right now. I'd say it's the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Astros.
For sure.
I would say a next step down is Atlanta. It's a close step down, but I think it's still a fairly clear step down.
Atlanta and the Yankees are right there.
I'm not even sure if I'm throwing the Yankees in that conversation.
Which is fair. But just based on, and maybe this is kind of a fugazi way to look at it, but just based on their record, they're right there.
I think with one more, maybe, Well, I mean, they're only for a team that had like what an 18 and a half game lead at some point. They have a 6 game lead now. Their winning percentage is
Yeah.
down to 603 after columns being written about how historically good this Yankees team
Right.
was, and they had a winning percentage damn near 750
Right.
multiple months into the season. So the crash back to reality has been tough, but it's not even just a crash back to reality. It's a potential crash back to, I don't say mediocrity, but that AL East is a race now.
No, but they've been below mediocre the last 6 weeks.
I think, man, I saw the stat yesterday. They had, I think August was their worst single season record or their worst single month record in a long time.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I forget the exact year.
They went 10 and 18,
Right.
the most losses in any calendar month, their worst record since September of 91.
Dude, I wasn't even alive.
Do you know what 91 was? That was the last time the Yankees finished the year under 500. And not
That's
that the
nuts.
not that the Yankees are going to finish the year under 500.
No, they would have to not win a game.
No, I mean they think they're at 79 wins right now.
Right.
Yeah, they'd have to win one game the rest of the way.
Right.
I don't even think the Yankees can pull that off. But it's just an unreal crash back to reality. While the Mets sit, I think, 4 games better than them. The Mets
Something
sit
like
4 games better than them with a 3 game lead in the division. The Mets took the lead in the NL East at 4-2.
Right.
It's been 142 days.
Right.
The Mets are still in first place. I think that has been the most insane part of this season is just it's been coast to coast dominance.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the division lead has wavered anywhere between 10 and a half game.
Sure.
You're going to get that. It's fine. Happens.
But they've held serve.
But they've held their spot. I mean, I think ultimately we knew the Mets and Braves were not going to end the year 10 and a half games apart.
Right.
The Mets and the Braves also aren't going to end the year tied or a half game apart. I think this 2, 3, 4 game range is probably somewhere where this division winds up. I mean, even when the Mets had a 7 game lead over Atlanta, I think the only way the Mets could probably finish more than 3 or 4 games up in the division is if they sweep Atlanta in Atlanta at the end of the year.
Right.
But I think the hope is going into that series,
It means nothing.
division's out of the way.
Right. And
if anything,
you're
just right. And if anything, I don't even think you have to worry about home field advantage because you're 7 games over the Cardinals right now.
Right.
I mean, the Mets have, I think, 31 games left.
Sure.
The remaining strength of schedule the rest of the way is 468.
It's easy in baseball.
That is tied with the Cardinals for the easiest in baseball.
And it gets significantly easier come tomorrow.
Come tomorrow, that number will be in the 450s.
Right, because you're wiping out 90 plus
the
wins.
698 Dodgers.
It's so stupid what they're doing. It's so dumb. We're talking about a team with 90 wins going into September that has Cody Bellinger batting ninth, hitting like 185. They traded for Joey Gallo, and he's batting sixth. Max Muncy's hitting 150 for most of the season. Justin Turner for the first half was hitting like 180. Craig Kimbrell can't close the game to save his life, and they still have 90 wins. They still have 90 wins.
They're just utterly insane. There's no other way to put it.
They haven't had Kershaw for most of the year. Walker Buehler has made like 6 starts. I hate it, but I respect it. Oh my God.
It's no,
what
I mean,
were we talking about before? I don't remember.
I don't know.
We went on this tangent about how good the Dodgers are. This is a Mets podcast. God damn it. Back to the
segue.
Mets. Jacob deGrom's really good at baseball, by the way.
So is Edwin Diaz.
I mean, if you want to talk about a script of how you want things to go, that's how it is. You get a lead early for DeGrom. He shoves 7 strong innings from DeGrom. I think it was 3 hits, only 1 run, and it was a Mookie Betts home run. So, okay, you take that. 9 strikeouts, a clean 8th from Ottavino, and then you go to Diaz in the 9th. That's how you script it.
I want to make a quick point as we talk about.
Absolutely.
As we were talking about playoff teams, how the Mets have handled them and all that. I put out the number last night. The Mets overall against teams currently in the National League playoff picture. That includes Milwaukee, since they're only 1 out. Milwaukee's 2.5 out.
2 out from
they're
the wild
2.5 out, but only 1 out in the loss column.
Mm-hmm.
So that last wild card spot between them and the Padres might just come down to the Padres having to sit and watch and hope other teams take care of business.
Right.
That's only really, I mean, the loss column is all that really matters. You can make up wins on off days. You can't make up losses.
Yeah.
They're only a game out in the loss column. But I'll do a team by team breakdown. The Mets are 3-3 against the Dodgers, 9-7 with the Braves, 5-2 with the Cards, 2-4 with the Padres, 2-1 with the Brewers, 14-5 with Philly. So they have today's game with the Dodgers, 3 with Atlanta, 3 with Milwaukee. Overall, so far, 35-22. Looking at
That's impressive, man.
looking at Atlanta against nationally playoff contenders. 2-4 against the Dodgers, 7-9 with the Mets, 6-6 with Philly, 3-4 with San Diego, 4-3 with St. Louis. 22-26 overall.
That's not impressive.
I think that's what they're what the kids would call a merchant. They're a bad team merchant.
I saw a stat.
Atlanta is a good team.
Sure, 100%.
They are not as good as the Mets.
Right.
And a lot of their success this year and getting back into this race has been built off just beating the other living shit out of bad teams.
Like they had a 6-week
Which is
span
great,
where it
and
felt like they
you
were
need
playing
to.
AAA teams the entire time.
Right. And you can only beat the teams that are on your schedule. I get that. But the Mets and the Braves are scheduled the same teams.
Sure.
The same teams, the same amount of games. And the Mets have handled the better teams better than Atlanta has.
Yeah. I saw a stat the other day. It was best records against teams under 500. And of course, the Braves were second best. So like 52-20 against teams under 500. That's how they got where they are. And again, like you said, and like we've said before, you play teams on your schedule. The Mets had an easier front half of their schedule. They played the middle half of their schedule was loaded with a lot of tougher teams and a tougher road through it. And now they're reaping the benefits by having a very soft September. You play who's on your schedule. Take care of business. Look where you are. You enter September with a 3-game lead. I think if we were here in the middle of April and I told you that the Mets would have a 3-game lead going into September, you're happy as hell.
Be ecstatic.
You're absolutely knowing who's on the schedule. You have to take advantage of it now, because strength of schedule doesn't mean anything really. It helps, but teams lose to teams under 500 all the time. The Pirates swept the Dodgers in LA. The Yankees, going back to them real quick, they've lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels or something like that.
Since the Pirates got swept in LA, or since the Pirates swept in LA, the Dodgers are 57-22. That's like 7:30 baseball.
I hate it, man. I hate it.
Me too. But even if the Mets finish this year 3-4 with the Dodgers, they can't pull out the win today, and I think it's Bassett on the mound.
It's Bassett versus Kershaw.
If you can't pull out the win, it is what it is. But going 3-4 against the Dodgers, you're showing you're going toe to toe with the best team in baseball.
Right.
You can hold your own
with one of the best teams of all time.
No, I mean quite literally.
Yeah.
So I think the Mets have put themselves. I just think they put themselves in the best spot they possibly could.
Yeah.
And with the softened schedule, it'll be easier to bulk up. And as guys start to come back, as everyone's on rehab right now or starting rehab.
Right. And that's not like
that's my attempt at a segue.
McGill's coming back soon.
Lucchese's probably only has a couple more appearances.
Right. Lucchese will be back soon as a lefty out of the bullpen, which they desperately need.
All McGill's appearances are going to be out of the pen.
Which
we knew, really but
the rest of the way. The thing that sucks though is that Beatty's going to be Beatty's probably done for the year. Because 5 weeks,
yes,
unless they want him on the postseason roster, which is possible, we may have seen the last of Brett Beatty this season.
I mean,
it's unfortunate because I felt like he was really kind of coming to his own.
He was really starting to hit the ball a lot harder, more consistently. But
yeah,
I guess so. Always goes. That's baseball.
Yeah. And now, since we're talking about that, and again, it is September, we kind of have to transition into the September call-ups. I don't think the teams have made it official yet, but I believe the report is that it'll be Adonis Medina and Devin Marrero. Obviously, neither of those names are Mark Vientos, and a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. I somewhat have a problem with that because Darren Ruff just hasn't been what you expected from him. I know you traded 4 guys for him, but he hasn't really done anything, especially against the lefties, and that was just one job. Well, so it's problematic to me.
They're not going to cut bait on him, especially considering what they gave up. I mean, Carson Seymour went 6 1/3 last night with 13 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to cut bait on Darren Ruff. Yeah, it's been brutal. I think you hope that maybe he starts to figure it out as you get into lesser and lesser pitching. When they start to face more mediocre pitching like a Marcus Stroman, stuff like that. Um, you hope that he maybe starts to figure it out. I'm a fan
You
of cheap
clown.
shots. I'm a fan of cheap shots. Um, but I think as you kind of start to go through a softer schedule, you hope that a guy like him and a guy like Escobar just start to get a little bit more consistent, even if it's consistently 250.
Hmm.
Consistent 700 OPS.
Hmm.
That's still better than what we're getting of the, you know, Darren Ruff's OPS as a Met entering yesterday was like 588,
Yeah,
something like that.
something not good.
I mean, it's they're not going to cut bait on him, and Vientos defensively can't play anywhere.
And I get that.
So there really isn't a point in calling him up because you're not going to play him at 30. Him and Brett Beatty are not in the same category.
Right. No, no,
I mean,
no. Beatty is by far more a complete prospect.
the outfield, well, not even that. It's just like the outfield experiment failed for Vientos, and they stopped doing it.
Hmm.
The first base experiment is not going well. He can't play third base. They've already moved him off. They moved him off shortstop the year he got out of high school.
Right.
It's just not working.
Yeah.
It's never going to work. So his only realistic spot is at DH. And I think you're going to get to a point where, maybe in the offseason, you look at Ruff as like a non-tender candidate,
Hmm.
but they're not going to do anything like that now. I think my
Yeah.
qualm would be that Devin Marrero of your infield depth in AAA is probably the worst.
Hmm.
You could argue, I mean, if you're calling him up to play third base, I'd rather you call up, he's gone now. Like Kramer Robertson was better. He's in St. Louis now, I think. Travis Blankenhorn is better. JT Riddle's better. I think Blankenhorn might be hurt, but that's a different thing. I mean, even if you just want a bat, Daniel Palka is a better idea.
Sure.
I think part of this is the lower depth, the AAA depth that they've had it hasn't been good. Plummer and Lee are just having bad years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Khalil Lee's out of the organization by the spring. He's just a non-prospect anymore.
Right.
He's a young guy who can still figure it out. I think that's what the main thing is going for him is he's so young.
Sure.
But it's you know they got Nick Plummer as a minor league free agent, and he was DFA and hasn't done anything since. So I think this is kind of just part of the issue we're at. I mean, looking at my top 30 right now, I have Khalil Lee at 29.
That was your guy going into last year.
I think Plummer is completely off my list now.
How often do you update your top 30?
Probably once a week.
Nice.
Just this guy's performance. I talk to more people.
Yeah.
Chase Estep is going to get on there soon with the way he's going. I'm just more so trying to figure out who I'm taking off for him.
Yeah. Might be Khalil Lee.
No. Yeah, actually, I'll do that right now.
There you go. A live update to Jack Ramsey's top 30.
Go watch. I tweeted out a video of his swing last night. He looks his swing feels very Kirk Neuenhuis-esque.
Oh, boy.
With the load, the follow through, the lefty power, pulling off the ball a little bit, but not like Bryce Harper levels.
Right. Yeah, and I said this going back to Vientos. I said this to you before we started recording. I just feel like, and maybe this is the wrong way to look at it because his defensive struggles might be what's keeping him down. I feel like if Mark Vientos doesn't get called up at all this year, he won't be a Met coming into next year. He will get traded, and I think that's a possibility regardless because he was obviously touted at the trade deadline, and the Mets decided to not trade him. And that's the whole thing that was so confusing. They didn't want to trade him for a guy like Contreras or JD Martinez, and I get that. That's fine. Whatever. You don't want to trade a guy like that for a rental. Fine. But you don't trade him, and then you trade for a guy that would block him being called up in Darren Ruff. So now you're not going to trade the guy, but you're not going to call him up. So now he's in limbo. So at this point, if you're not going to call him up in September, the hell is he doing in the organization?
I think it comes down to how much you believe what comes from the Mets. How much you believe what comes from SNY, Andy Martino, people who have people who are close with previous front offices and maybe an executive or two who have withstood multiple regimes,
Hmm.
multiple ownerships. Um, I think the issue people are going to find is it's not more so the Mets didn't want to trade them; it's the Mets publicly trying to drum up interest in them, and teams not biting.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know who wants to trade for the positionless DH,
Yeah.
who in the bigs might at his best be a platoon DH.
Right.
Um,
Would
like
you have
this,
traded Vientos for Contreras?
yeah, but I don't think Chicago would have.
Okay.
I mean, he's a huge reason Brett Beatty saw his stock rise was because he went from positionless to probably an average third baseman.
Yeah.
But that's what it was the defense. The reason Mark Vientos is left off basically every top 100 list, aside from I think Fangraphs has him on there, is he can't play defense,
Yeah.
and it's unarguable that he can't play defense, and I think that's what's holding him back, and it's not something that's going to change.
It's a
There is
shame
no.
because
I don't want to say
the bat's
there's.
obviously there.
Yeah, and I don't want to say there's no hope for him to figure it out, but that's as close to no hope as you can be. With there still being hope.
Damn.
I mean, I have zero faith in him figuring it out defensively. I think he's a guy that's probably. I mean, if anything, you probably move him for a guy with a year or two of control left out of the pen.
Hmm.
You know, I think him, Lee, and Mauricio are all out of the organization
That was gonna be
come
when the next guy I go to was Ronnie
come
Mauricio
March
because
first.
he seemed to be in that same kind of category where
Yeah, guys were getting drummed up in the media and getting hyped
right,
up in the media while teams aren't biting and teams just aren't
right.
interested.
The
Ronnie
bat's
Maurice,
there, the talent is there, the power is there. He can't draw a walk to save his life. He'll never see a pitch that he doesn't like.
no, I mean it's
But his
raw
problem is the
talent
same
that
thing.
has
Is like he doesn't really have a position.
with Ronnie, it's like it's raw talent that just hasn't been developed yet.
Right.
The raw talent is there. He can hit the shit out of the ball.
Yeah.
He can hit nukes, and he has a good arm.
Yeah.
But the pitch selection isn't good. The eye at the plate isn't good. Defensively, there's still a lot of fundamental stuff that needs to be worked on,
Hmm.
and he's effectively going to be positionless because unless you're a guy like O'Neal Cruz, you're going to be too tall for shortstop,
Right.
and I think he's not O'Neal Cruz.
No. If he was, he'd
Um,
be called up already.
Effectively, yeah. So I mean, I had the same worries I've always had about Ronnie being pitch selection, ability to get on base without swinging the bat, and defense defensive fundamentals were question marks I had with Alex Ramirez at first.
Right.
Ramirez has been able the pitch selection has gotten better. He's drawn more walks. The defense has improved,
Hmm.
which is why you now see him as a consensus top 100 prospect in baseball.
Right.
But you're just not seeing that with everyone. And I think teams have a million of those guys. They're like the lottery ticket type guys that you trade. I mean,
Mm.
one of the biggest problems with the Van Wagenen general managership was that he was willing to throw lottery tickets into anything. You want to look at the Byron Buxton trade, not Byron Buxton,
Oh,
Keon
God.
Broxton trade.
Thank you.
I mean, Felix Valerio was a throw-in, and he's
Right.
become a pretty solid prospect for the Brewers. I mean, Andy Rodriguez.
Hmm.
He's now a really impressive super utility type guy who's OPSing 900 in the Pirates system. It's the Pirates; they'll find a way to fuck him up. But I mean, he can catch, play second base, play first base, play corner outfield, and he does all of them well.
Right.
He's a 900 OPS. And it's just kind of a throw-in for a trader. It felt like the Mets got in, just like the Mets got in it last minute.
Hmm.
So the Mets have had a tendency of taking these lottery tickets, throwing them into deals, but they throw the wrong guys in.
Hmm.
So, um, I'll even go as far to now Epler. The Naquin trade, they took 2 lottery tickets and threw it in for a rental corner bat and corner outfield bat and Philip Deal. I don't even know what he's doing.
What were the names in the Naquin deal?
That was Hector Rodriguez and Jose Acuna. And the thing that did not make sense was Jose Acuna profiles the exact same as Jet Williams.
Mm-hmm.
These are smaller middle infielders with incredible speed and incredible raw power.
Jose Acuna this year, and this is just all told, 2.83, 78 strikeouts in 63 innings. And what was the other one?
I said Jose Acuna. I meant Hector Rodriguez.
You said both, I think.
Yeah, but I was talking about Hector. I was talking about Hector Rodriguez, and I meant to say Jose Acuna.
And Hector Rodriguez.
Hector
Holy
Rodriguez is a
hell.
922 OPS on the year.
Yeah, it sure
He's
does.
18, and he's 5'8", 186.
Jeez.
I mean, he's 400, 464, 720 for the Reds.
Holy
ACL
Dilson
treatment.
Herrera. That's kind of what he sounds like there.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know.
it's you have these guys who are lottery tickets effectively, and they're just kind of thrown into deals.
Yeah. And the three guys that we're talking about with Lee, Mauricio, and Vientos, I mean, Mauricio's 21, Vientos is 22, Lee's 24. So, like you said, they're still incredibly young and they could definitely figure it out. I just don't think it's going to be in this organization.
I think Vientos is I think you know what Vientos is going to be.
Right.
I mean, he's as finished of a prospect as you can be and still be a prospect.
Right. Right.
Mauricio, I have no hope in him figuring out just because it's been 2 years now with the notion that all right, the next step. I mean, really since minor league ball came back after the pandemic season, the notion has been plate discipline, pitch selection, defense. Hasn't gotten anywhere.
Right.
And with Lee, I think he was always just kind of a fringe prospect who had to figure it out anyway. And he just hasn't.
Yeah. Issues with consistency making contact. That's a problem trying to be a big league player.
Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of back to the initial point of September call ups. I think there's a chance. I mean, I think that Devin Marrero spot might be rotating door until Guillorme's back.
Right.
You know, Blankenhorn, there's rumblings he might be injured or just taking some time on the bench to heal something.
Mm-hmm.
No one else really on the 40 aside from Khalil Lee, and there's no point in calling him up. I think if anything, it's a bigger showing that maybe Billy should have tried to get some depth at the deadline or tried to bring in a non-40 man guy to get him on the 40 to be playoff eligible.
Right. I mean, they called up their playoff guy, Terrence Gore. So that's going to be your base dealer, pinch runner late in the games. James McCann somehow gets a single. He'll pinch run for him. That's his job. That's what he'll be doing. He's done that his entire career.
He's been on 2 straight world champions.
Right. Without taking an at bat. So.
But I think the Mets, this just shows that they are still lacking that like upper level depth. And I mean,
yeah.
Vientos is great. It is what it is. But you know he's not going to. He's not going to be that guy who can come up and make a difference. And even then, he's not the type of guy you can like bring up to have him just come off the pine.
Right.
You know, at that point, as a prospect, you're still. I'm not sure there's much more developing he needs to do, but you still want these guys getting like regular at bats.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting.
It will. I still kind of hope we see the kid sometime this year to see if the bat plays in the major league level.
I don't think he'd get enough at bats for you to even be able to tell.
Mm.
I mean, Brett Beatty's bat is going to play. But Brett Beatty got like 40, 50 at bats.
Yeah.
Then got hurt.
Right.
And, you know, the Mets aren't going to bench. I think the other problem is Escobar is at his best against lefties.
Right.
So why are you bringing up a guy who hits lefties?
As a DH.
Well, you just gave up 4 guys to get already get a guy who's playing DH. And to be fair,
I get it.
Ruff has excelled in his career in this type of platoon. It's always possible he's just in a slump and it happens.
Right.
But it's glorified when you're only given 2 months.
No, for sure. For sure.
But I don't think they're going to do anything there.
No.
I think these guys are stopgaps. Medina will go back down when Lucchese's back. They'll probably cut Hunter when McGill is back, or they'll give him a Phantom IL. Maybe they get Joely a Phantom IL to get him some time.
Mm-hmm.
Marrero will go down when Guillorme is back, or even like maybe if Blankenhorn can come back in a week, you DFA Marrero and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But the end of the roster, they've rounded it out. But they're 27, 28, 29, 30. They're still not great. And I think that's kind of the difference here.
It's a pretty top heavy system, and we've known this for a while. So hopefully they can they've done a better job filling out the system, but they need to do a better job of really filling out the system with young talent that can contribute at the major league level and be the depth pieces that aren't just the Alvarez's and the Beatties, and they need more guys. They need more guys. But it's a good problems to have when you're on pace to win 105 games. These are good issues. If the biggest issue you have with your team is prospects 25 down aren't that great, I'll take that. I'll take that if it means I'm going to have a chance to win the next, a couple World Series in the next 3 to 4 years. I'll take those odds. I'll take those chances.
No, yeah. It's still part of building a sustained winner.
Yeah. Which they're still dedicated to doing. Cohen, as we know, he wants to win within that 3 to 5 year window of him owning the team. This is year 2. And we're already at this point where you see the Mets as very serious World Series threats, which is, again, a great thing to look at as a Mets fan.
And I think last night showed why the Mets are such a huge World Series threat.
Right.
Because, in theory, going into the playoffs, you're taking Taijuan Walker out of the rotation. And you're going with DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, and probably Carrasco. I mean, Walker is a 6.1 in the second half. He's not going to.
Now, most of that's probably from the one start, but still.
But even then, he's a walking 5 innings, 3 runs.
Right.
With multiple walks, not a lot of Ks,
Mm-hmm.
by batter over here and there. It's just you can't trust that going into the playoffs.
Right.
And I think I'd take the guy who was on a staff that almost won a World Series and went on multiple deep playoff runs.
Right.
I think I'm taking that over. I'm taking that over.
You feel good about your top 3 with DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett, and then after that, you go from there.
Yeah.
Even if you piggyback Carrasco, Walker, Peterson, or some combination of that to get to the main guys in the bullpen, just see you're right there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you really have to figure out that 4th spot in the sense of it doesn't have to straight up be Carrasco's the guy,
right?
Walker's the guy, Peterson's the guy. You can figure it out.
For sure.
I mean, you can even mix and match based on your matchups.
Absolutely. 100% you can.
So, I mean, it should be interesting.
It's going to be fun, man. We're talking about a team they're going to be playing in October.
Yeah, I think the magic number to come to playoff spot is 20 games.
20. Magic number for the division is 29. There is a chance that we go into that Braves series with everything locked up.
That's the last series of the year, right?
Second to last.
I don't see them going in with a 6-game lead. Just because Atlanta's schedule is pretty light too.
No, but there's a chance. And even if it's not at 0, it could be at 2, it could be at 1. Who knows?
No, yeah. Fun, I mean,
I'm looking forward to this September.
No, I am too, and I mean, I just think the Mets are at it's gonna be weird. Like, the most tense thing is gonna be scoreboard watching.
Yeah,
because in theory, the Mets should be winning most of these games this month handily.
Ideally,
yeah, they really.
Because it's what it's the one game against the Dodgers today, the Nationals, Pirates, Oakland.
I'm looking at Atlanta's schedule right now.
Right.
Atlanta goes, they have 1 more with the Rockies today, then they host the Marlins, 3 with the A's, at the Mariners. That's a good series for the Mets to try and.
Mm-hmm.
While while the
Sorry if you hear the
Braves are
plane going over my head now.
here, one going over my head too. I live right outside of Orlando International.
There you go.
While the Braves are at the Mariners, the Mets are at the Marlins. And then while the Braves are at the Giants, the Mets are home for the Cubs.
Okay.
16th through the 18th, the Braves host the Phillies,
Mm-hmm.
while the Mets are playing the Pirates.
Okay.
While the Mets are in Milwaukee, the Braves are home for the Nationals. Braves host the Phillies while the Mets are in Oakland. And then you go into those final 6 games. Games 156 through 159 are Mets in Atlanta. So, I mean, I think it really depends on the huge series is going to be the Braves are in Seattle while the Mets are in Miami.
And even with the games with Miami, and it goes for the Mets as well.
Well, I mean, Jesus Aguilar is gone.
Right. But
That's a huge thorn in your side out the door.
But for the Braves just start they start a series with Miami tomorrow. But they're going against Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, and Pablo Lopez. If you're a Mets fan, that's what you want to see going against Atlanta.
Yeah.
You don't want to see Trevor Rogers or whoever the hell their fourth starter is anymore. You want to see Eliezer Hernandez pitching against the Braves. You're hoping to see Alcantara, Cabrera, and Lopez against your division rival. So hopefully, while you're taking care of business against the Nationals, God willing, the Braves might also potentially lose 2 out of 3. Because Miami might score 2 or 3 runs each game. They could potentially win every one of them just based on the matchups.
Yeah.
Possible. I'm not saying it's going to
absolutely.
happen. I'm not predicting that, but
No, but the huge series is going to be Atlanta in the 9th through the 11th. Atlanta in Seattle. Or I guess you say the big stretch is the Braves go on the road in Seattle, in San Francisco, while the Mets are in Miami and host Chicago. That's just a huge.
There's a chance there.
No, I mean that's really what it's going to come down to. I think if the Mets start to separate, it's going to be then.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I'm saying there's a chance that Brave series means nothing. Because every Braves loss counts for the match number as well.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the Mets, we talked about this like a month ago. Just get to a spot where you control your destiny.
Yeah. And
today's September 1st. The Mets control the MLB.com standings page brought back the elimination number. The Mets control their destiny.
You'd love to see it. You really love to see it. Just watching Javi Baez hit a ball off the freaking dirt for a single.
Bring him back.
He does some wild stuff. I know he's having an atrocity of a year, but still fun to watch.
Oh, he's exciting as hell.
That's another reason why, like, it's kind of from a fan perspective. I hate to, kind of bring it back full circle again. If Vientos could be like Javi Baez minus the defense, he'll never be that defensively. But if you do something like that with the bat, man, it'll be fun.
Maybe
Javi Baez almost hit a home run a couple weeks ago on a pitch that bounced. He almost went deep lefty. The guy's fun. He's fun. I don't know. Anything else from you?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
The happiest man on the fucking planet right now.
I did not know where that was going. And then you took off your hat. I'm like, is he going to shave his head live on camera?
Not for the pod. I'll do a lot of things for the pod. Not doing that for the pod.
Yeah, it's just about that time.
I am the happiest man. 5 years on to the end of his deal. I woke up to that news.
So it's what, 7 years total now?
Russell Wilson will retire a Denver Bronco. Will probably retire one of the 3 greatest quarterbacks in Bronco history. Probably. He'll get another ring.
Potentially.
It's never been the Mets and the Broncos always seem to at the same time when they take off, they take off.
Yeah.
I remember being in like middle school, 2015.
God, you're in middle school in 2015.
Yeah, don't think about it. Mets were in the World Series. Broncos were getting going on their Super Bowl season. Hoping it's the other way around this year.
Hmm.
I, I've I would absolutely sacrifice the Broncos ring for the Mets ring.
Oh, I would. I mean, I'm looking at my other teams. Giants suck. The Devils are an atrocity. And the Nets, who the hell knows what's going on with them? One day they have Katie and Kyrie. The next day they both won out. One day I can't stand it. I can't.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many of the Giants rings would you give up for a Mets ring? If I told you the only way you could get the Mets to win a ring, the Mets would
Hmm.
win a ring, was if the Giants, if you had to go back in time and the Giants did not win either of those Super Bowls,
Oh,
would you do it?
I got to keep '07. You have to keep '07.
You would sacrifice 2012, I think it was
I would sacrifice 2011 for the Mets World Series
2011.
100%, without question.
So you would give up one ring. So you would do a ring swap.
Yeah. If
Interesting.
if the Mets win the World Series this year, if that means my other teams are cell dwellers for the next 5 years, sign me up today. I'll sign that contract in blood.
No, I've always thought I would sacrifice UConn's banner and the Broncos ring. I'd give those both up for a Mets ring in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even UConn's "We Won a Game" banner from last year, I'd give that up.
There you go. That's big time.
It's commitment.
If and I'll include the college teams too, because you're including UConn. If the Mets win the World Series this year, you could take out North Carolina basketball, you could take out Notre Dame football. They cannot do anything for the next 5 years. I'm okay with it. I'm cool. I'm all right if the Mets win the title this year. That's
Yeah,
what I want.
I mean, I would do most. I love to say I would do something within moral and ethical reasoning.
Sure.
That's just one of my phrases. I would do so many immoral and unethical things.
I would get irrational. I would get irrational.
If these are hypotheticals where I don't have to serve a life sentence, I'd do a lot of things for a Mets ring.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If I'm guaranteed, security where I'm not going to prison and my life's not in stake and I'm not hurting anyone, that's all the loved ones, the family, the dog, anything, all of them are good. Yeah. Sign me up for a Mets World Series.
Oh, here's one.
Okay.
Jeff Passan on the Pat McAfee show says Edwin Diaz might become baseball's first $100 million closer this winter.
Holy Christ.
I mean, if he's getting 6 years, 100 million, sign me up. Uncle Stevie says he wants or Sandy Alderson said Steve wants
350.
might go 350. Give Edwin a slice of the cake.
Yeah. Because again, if you're going 350, and I hate ticks on the pod here, but I really don't hate ticks on the pod here. If you're going 350, you're implying you're going to do everything you possibly can to retain DeGrom for the rest of his career. You're doing everything you possibly can to retain Edwin Diaz. You're doing everything you possibly can to keep Brandon Nimmo and then add on top of that to fill out this roster more.
Yeah. I mean, it still feels like looking the Mets are missing like a big bat.
Yeah. And I don't know what bats are available in the offseason.
Oh, I haven't.
I know Contreras is available, but
I still don't even think he's that guy, like that type of bat you're looking for.
No.
You're looking for a top flight, top tier bat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's not that's not Jeff McNeil. It's
Right.
not Pete Alonso. It's not Frankie Lindor. I mean, those are second tier bats, but I feel like you're still missing that top tier guy. The Mets have 5 or 6, 7 if you include the way Canada's been playing, like second tier bats.
Let's see who's available, and then we'll end on this.
Yeah.
Not 2022. I want 2023. All right. Arenado can opt out, but he's not going to. Jaden Martinez is too old. Trey Turner, I don't see that happening. Really, the only one that you're looking at that's a bona fide game changer bat, free agent wise, it's Aaron Judge.
You want to talk about immoral and unethical things. I would commit atrocities. Absolute atrocities.
Let's play a little game here. Let's do a little odds here. More likely to be a Met in the next 3 years.
You're gonna say Judge or DeGrom?
No.
Oh,
Aaron Judge,
okay.
Shohei Ohtani,
Okay.
Juan Soto. Who's more likely to be a Met
Shohei.
2025?
Shohei.
Shohei, right?
I say Shohei because of the Epler connection.
Right.
I
agree.
think your saving grace for Judge is that Hal Steinbrenner has cheaped out the past couple winners.
Yeah.
I think
Do
the
we both
Donaldson.
agree that Aaron Judge will not be he will not be a Yankee come next year?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think he's.
I think the possibility
back-to-back.
there. I think the possibility there though is Brian Cashman says if you don't let me bring him back, I'm leaving.
Oh, I mean,
Cashman's contract is up this year.
right.
He can walk out the door.
Sure.
What else does Brian Cashman have to prove?
I think Aaron Judge already has one foot out the door.
He might.
I think that opening day press conference, that was it.
What year did Cashman become GM?
Oh, long time ago.
He became general manager 98.
Right.
He's got a ring from
He's got 2 rings. 3 rings?
more. I'm trying to figure out if he started before 98 or after.
I'd imagine going into the 98 season. But I don't know that for sure.
February 98, Brian Cashman took over
February
rings.
98.
So
So
he has a ring for
98.
98, 99, 2000,
2009.
2009. The fuck else does he have to prove? Like,
Let me tell you though,
he's got nothing else to prove.
as someone who knows a lot of Yankee fans, they hate him. They can't stand him.
I would do crazy things for Brian Cashman.
Unethical
Yeah,
atrocities.
not for a GM. But if Brian Cashman was
Well, he
willing to
wouldn't
be
be
the
GM.
president,
He'd
well, if he's willing to
probably-
be president of baseball operations for the Mets or team president,
Would you rather him or David Stearns?
Cashman.
Interesting.
Because I think the Stearns way of operating a baseball team wouldn't fly in New York. Like, imagine if the Mets moved Diaz at the deadline because they didn't think they'd be able to resign him.
Oh, David Stearns' head would be on a spike. His head would be on a spike.
That's why I never really thought Mike Chernoff was going to be a good fit.
Right.
Because you have these guys who have built great ways of running mid-market teams.
Right.
But at the same time, the heat you get for the controversial moves dies down quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, people aren't really still calling for David Stearns' head.
No.
A lot of that is how bad haters been.
Got an
But
ERA
when
of
you have
13 or something.
But when you have a guy that you're handing the closer's role to,
Right.
who even he is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That says everything. And I don't think that would ever fly in New York. Brian Cashman just wants a checkbook to spend. That man just wants to spend money. But you're at a point where Hal is more worried about profits.
Mm-hmm.
He knows Yankee fans are still going to show up. As long as they put a 90-win team out there, Yankee fans are going to show up.
They'll show up for sure.
I mean, even if Judge leaves, you still have Giancarlo Stanton.
Right.
You still got Cole. I think you still have Severino.
Yep.
You still have what's his name? You still have Rizzo.
Yep.
You still have Glaber.
Yep. Maybe.
But you
And
still
more
have
importantly, you still have Isaiah Kiner Falefa,
Josh Donaldson.
Aaron Hicks.
The ghost of Brett Gardner never leaves.
He hasn't officially retired. He could sign still.
But you're just at a point where it's like, what else? I don't know what else Cashman has to prove. I don't know what else Cashman has to do to get Hal to buy into what Cashman wants to do.
Yeah.
And he hasn't. But I would much rather prefer Brian Cashman as the Mets president of baseball operations or team president than
It's fair.
David Stearns.
That's fair to me.
I think ultimately what some of it might come down to is just, who's going to build a New York major market roster.
Right.
And my money's not on Stearns. So even then, the track record of him giving out major contracts isn't great.
Yeah.
I mean, that Yelich deal sucks right now.
It looks bad.
I mean, he's starting to play better,
Yeah,
but the contract is still bad.
still bad.
So if you're going to hang out, if you're going to hand out one of those huge contracts, you're going to hand out, let's say you hand out 3 in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
You got to hit on all 3.
Yeah,
It's the same way the Mets were. If you're going to hand out those big contracts, you have to hit on them.
they're hitting
They
on
hit.
Scherzer.
Well, I'm even thinking like when the Mets were a small market team.
Okay,
You hit on Wright,
right.
you missed on Bay,
Yeah,
and you just didn't even bother giving Jose a contract.
which for the better.
Yeah, definitely for the better. But the Mets handed out 2.
Miss on the. I guess you call Cespedes contract a miss.
Right. Yeah. So you hand out 3. Right. Yeah. Cespedes, Bay. You miss on 2, you hit on 1.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be doing that in New York.
Right.
As a major market team, you can't be doing that. You can afford to, yes, but the scrutiny is 10 times more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see a world in which Sandy Alderson retires since his contract's up and he gets the Tony La Russa treatment of, oh no, we're looking out for his well-being. Oh no. And then, maybe you offer that job to Cashman. That's still a promotion.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be shocked because I just have the sense that the team really likes Sandy, so it might just give him like some advisor role or something like that. I don't know.
I think it comes down to Sandy.
Yeah.
What he wants to do. I mean, he's not involved.
Right.
That's one thing I've hated. That's the one narrative I've hated about Mets fans this year is when the Mets make a good move, we praise Billy Epler.
Right.
When the Mets make a bad move, oh, this has Sandy all over it. Acting as if like Epler was a perfect GM in Anaheim. He's been good. He's made good moves.
Sure.
And he has put this team in a great position.
Right.
He has added what they've needed to add. He's made the big splash when he needed to. But doesn't mean he's immune from questioning and from second guessing and from criticism.
Yeah, no one is immune to getting criticism. I mean,
Brian Cashman hasn't built a losing team ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And that man is probably one of the 5 most hated figures in New York sports right now.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Doesn't matter. Russell Wilson's a Bronco for 7 years.
Oh, boy. All right. It's prediction time. What do you got?
Shit, really depends on when we record next.
Well, I mean, I can include because remember, my prediction was Pete's going to hit 300 for September. So it doesn't have to be for the series. It can just be a general statement.
Gotcha. Let me quickly look at their schedule again.
It's not good.
No, it's a very bad schedule. Let's see. Thursdays are great days for me to record, and the Mets are off next Thursday, so that makes logical sense.
Okay.
The Mets will not lose before we record again.
Ooh. And you're including the Dodger game today.
I think they win today. Mm-hmm. Kershaw's gonna be on a hard pitch limit.
Probably.
3 with the Nationals at home. They should beat the shit out of them. They go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's falling off the deep end.
Like, what do you mean falling? Like as if they haven't been in the
process. They looked semi-respectable for a couple months. They bought themselves some leeway by going into LA and sweeping the Dodgers.
Sure.
But Pittsburgh's falling off the deep end. Nationals are the worst team in baseball. The Mets will not lose again before their day off on Thursday.
All right. I like it.
LFGM.
LFGM.